Goldie, I would hope you'd hop in here.
Beating on about.
What's going on, y'all?
It's good. It's good.
Um, Goldie, so who do you think had more help, LeBron or Kobe Bryant?
Like how I guess if you're asking like over the course of their career, more talent
Yeah,
played with obviously LeBron.
yeah.
But we'll say this: the last 8-9 years of the NBA, in my opinion, is the most talented era ever, and I think that the early 2000s was significantly less talented, and I think that even though LeBron's played with more talent, I think that playing with a top 5-6 player at their peak is more important than playing
So
with.
I'm like legit trying to understand, like, why do you think it's more talented?
Why do I think it's more talented right now?
Yeah,
I don't think at like the top of the league it's more talented. Like I think that like the top of the league remains like fairly consistent across the ages, but I think that the overall depth gets better. I think that there's more, I guess, all-star, low all-star caliber players now than there was at that time.
let me ask this
I
question.
would say it's the opposite.
Let me ask this question. Do you think, like, because of how basketball is played, because, all right, I'll give you an example. Last year, we had like 8 guys averaging over 30. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
no. I know what you're saying. I know where you're
Yeah,
going. Like, no,
so
I don't think that it's like a box score thing. I don't think that it's because, player like more guys are scoring more and stuff today. That means it's more talented. I just think that like who's like the 15th best player in the league right now? I don't know. Like, would you say a guy like Ja or something?
but what I'm saying though, Goldie, it's like, and just think about this for a second. The reason why you think these guys are so talented is because it ties back into a box score, right?
To a
Like,
degree.
it ties back into the era, it ties back into the box score. So back then, during Kobe's era, Kobe, Shaq, whatever, the power forward, their version of spacing was taking a 15-footer on the baseline. You know what I'm saying? A 12-footer, a 10-footer from the baseline. That is their version of spacing.
Right.
You drove, and you just think about like that from like a cumulative standpoint, right? Like, you got somebody that drives left, and you have a power forward right there. Like, instead of being 3, 4 steps away to cover that corner shooter, you are like a half step away, right? Like, that help defense is like half step, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
think about like that. It's like playing in a phone booth. You know what I'm saying? Now you had all these guys now. Now all of a sudden, a power forward looks like Kyle Kuzma and not Kurt Thomas, right? So it is just a different type of game. You know what I'm saying?
No, I agree. Yeah.
So I think like the reason why we have the perception of the league being more talented is because guys are putting up these crazy stats. You know what I'm saying? Like, you look at like a Ja Morant, for instance, right? Like, imagine if Ja wasn't in like imagine if Ja like played in like the 2000s or whatever, right? And he had to go up against space, and imagine him trying all of that dunk shit with fucking Ben Wallace and Rasheed Wallace, right? And he has no spacing, bro. The shit would look nasty, bro. It would just look absolutely nasty.
I agree.
I whole point with that.
No, I agree. But still, like, I think that, okay, I haven't really fleshed this point out, so I'm going to try and, like, talk it out. And
Yeah.
You can, like, correct me if you disagree. But So I guess the way I see it is, I think it's easier to play defense if you're like locked in defensively and you have like you're relatively athletic. I think it's a lot easier to play defense than it is to play offense. So I think that with that and the rules at the time in the early 2000s being heavily catered towards defense, which is why they had to change it after 2004 because it got so disgusting. Like, offenses couldn't do anything. I think the combination of those two things made it to where, like, if you didn't have star power, you could still be a great team because you could play great defense. So, like, teams like the early Pistons, like, you know, maybe they had some star power, like Chauncey Billups was kind of like an all-star, but they had like really good defensive players who could really impact the game a lot easier because at the time, you know, the defensive rules, like before the 3 seconds in the paint and before hand checking was removed, it was really, really easy to be like a great defensive team.
You know what's funny about that? Hand checking, illegal defense, all of that stuff got removed in around, say, the 2003 season, right? The 03, 04, 05, 06, 07, 08. That was right in the prime of, like, when the Pistons were doing their thing. You know what I'm saying? So during that era, the rules were still the same, but people just didn't, you know, coaches just didn't start to space the court. Some of them, well, D'Antoni did, right? But I just don't think those teams were good enough to start to win yet. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
It was still hand-to-hand fighting in the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? And
right.
I just don't think they had the personnel to do that. You know what I'm saying? Now let's get back to, like, this era.
Right.
During 2016, I swear to God this happened. T-Mac was on TV. And T-Mac was disrespecting Steph. And T-Mac was like, yo, it's just not like it was before in terms of talent and stars from team to team, top to bottom. So T-Mac's perception, and you take this with a grain of salt because he's a player, right?
Right.
T-Mac's perception in 2016 is that you didn't have like a lot of star power in the league at the time. You know what I'm saying? That was his perception. And when I think about it, he might have a point, right? Like, he might have a point when he was talking about star power during that era, because
during 2016.
Yeah, like
I mean, you had DeAndre Jordan,
like 13 to about 2017. Like like, if you think about it, like, you didn't have emergence of stars yet. You know what I'm saying? So right around then, Jokic emerged, Kawhi Leonard emerged. You know, like those guys emerged. James Harden, like, those guys started to emerge. You know, but from like 14 to around 17, bro, it didn't feel like there was like a lot of star power in there. Like Boston, those guys are starting to phase out and all of that stuff, right?
Right.
And during that era, like, he might have had a point, right? Like, I felt like it was like a transition period. So the star power didn't feel as dense. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Now after that, a lot of guys emerged, bro. Like a lot of guys. But here's the thing. My thing is, like, everything is relative to the league. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you measure, you know, who's a star from who's not a star? You know what I'm saying? And
right.
You know, you probably have to back up off of the numbers, put the era in context, you know, and do it relative versus the league. Like that's kind of what you have to do, because I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. Like, from era to era, I think the talent is just about the same. The league conditions are just kind of different. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, maybe it very well might be. Like, I mean, that was when I was a kid. So I'm like, for that, I can go off of like the clips that I can find on like YouTube and stuff. But like, so I can't like remember it probably like you can. But just the way, like, I look at it, it's like, you know, look at the best teams from those early 2000s. Like, you had teams like the Pacers go into the finals, whereas like Reggie Miller towards the end of his career, Jalen Rose, like Rick Smits, Mark Jackson, like.
But those were good teams, though. Like those were phenomenal teams.
Right, but like, I mean, I don't know. I guess we just saw the Heat go to the finals, so maybe that's not a.
This is what I'm saying, bro. Like, look at this Miami team that just went to the finals, dog. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can make that argument. Like, I don't think Jimmy Butler is a guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But, bro, like, we're in a world where Jimmy Butler, you know, if he makes that three, he could have gone to 2 straight finals. You know what I'm saying? Out of the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
An Eastern Conference where you have Giannis out there, right? Like, who we claim is a champion and all of this other stuff, and you have this other dude making 2 finals out of the East on Giannis's. Matter of fact,
I mean, he has made 2 finals if you count 2020, so he almost.
That's what I'm saying, bro. So he's probably a shot away from making 3 finals in a conference that has Giannis. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, like these are the things that we're talking about. It's like, I don't know how to differentiate from, you know, from what to what, because did you see where Butler was drafted and what he was doing in Chicago and all of that stuff? Like,
yeah, I mean, he was. I mean, when he first got there,
he was a late bloomer, bro. He's a late.
He was not anybody until like 2017.
This is what I'm saying. So it's like, it's hard to say that the competition is, you know. I will say this though: Steph running into LeBron and LeBron running into Steph. It is unfortunate for LeBron because I think he probably would have won more. You know what I'm saying? But you can't make the argument that LeBron is the second best ever if he's losing the sixth. You know what I'm saying? And you can throw the KD thing in there, but if you're the best guy on the floor, you're the best guy on the floor, especially if you have that type of talent with you. Like, I just feel like there's something that you have to do to push past. Now, LeBron, again, we have this perception of LeBron because of the consistency that he's exhibited and the stats that he's put up just year in, year out. Like, I think that's phenomenal. However, there's a lot of guys putting up stats right now. All of these guys are putting up stats. It's similar kind of stats too. So how do you differentiate them?
So maybe I should flesh this out some more. So like when I think I talked about this a few weeks ago, but like, you know, I do value longevity, but like I also like don't put a whole lot of value into LeBron's numbers the last like few years, just because like, yeah, the league has changed and it's much more conducive towards putting up big numbers. And I think that if the league was like the same style of play that it was like a decade ago, he would not be putting up the same numbers that he is right now. But maybe it like the case is that like, I mean, we saw this with the Nets and we've seen this with a few other teams, the Lakers last year. Like maybe just playing with a lot of talent just doesn't really matter. It really is just about like having a like really great fit and, you know, chemistry that's built up over years of playing together.
Let me give you an example of kind of what I'm talking about. So LeBron from 03 to 2009, right? So I believe 2009 was his first MVP, correct?
It was.
Okay, so like I think that's his first 6 seasons. He was 27.5 on 50% effective. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
50% effective in this era is not that great.
Right.
With that era, that is really fucking phenomenal. Now, now from 2010, like I'm gonna say like the next 10 years, he's at 26.8 on 57 effective, right? So the next 10 years when the league opened up, his efficiency is +7.
Right.
Versus the first 6 years, which is like +6. And I promise you, if you do it to league, like I'm relative to from league average, he would probably be the same +4, +5, +6, right?
Mhm.
If you put right, so everything that you have to do, bro, you have to do it relative to the era. So
Right.
during that time, LeBron started to go 4 out. You know what I'm saying? Once he started to go more 4 out, because he was doing it before, but once he started to go more 4 out and he started to play on better offenses, his efficiency skyrocketed. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm talking about like he went from 53% effective, right? And during that era, bro, 53% effective for him, the way that he played and all of that, it was groundbreaking. Like, he was like breaking offenses basically back then, like by himself, damn near, right? Like doing a 4 out, right? So not only did he have like the top defense, but he was operating like a top level offense back then, right? So you had the offense and defense thing going. Next thing you know, they're winning 66 games. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
they just had the perfect formula. So I think that right there is kind of like a prelude to what was happening or what's happening now. You know what I'm saying? Now the difference is that he was ahead of his time back then, and now everyone is doing the same shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But he's just doing it back then with a better type of defense. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was just playing a style of ball that the rest of the league wasn't playing. Now, when you get to like 2014, 2015, 2016, he's essentially doing the same thing. But because he was trying to compete with the Warriors, he got rid of those like defensive leaning type of players. You know what I'm saying? Now Varejao can't play with it. Like, now there's
Right.
certain guys that can't play with it. Now he has more shooters. So where he's running a top 5 offense in the league, the defense is cratering right underneath him. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
he could never find that balance. And I think that's why he hasn't won more. You know what I'm saying? Because one, he's leaning more offense. The defense is struggling. And he's just getting ran off the court, bro. Like, ran off the court by the Warriors. And people are like, holy fuck, the Warriors are the great team, this, that, and the other. And it's like, nah, bro. Like, the Warriors just figured out how to keep their defensive players on the court versus, you know, running like a high-level offense. And I think that's the part
Right.
where Curry has came in. You know what I'm saying? Steph came in, and now Steph can keep
Yeah.
a ball on the floor. He can keep a Draymond Green on the floor, right? And I don't think you could have had those type of players out there with LeBron playing that type of style. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's why he had so many failures earlier playing on those great teams, because once you got to the playoffs and they bottled up that drive and kick stuff and the downhill stuff, his in-between game wasn't the greatest. So that's where I say Kobe plays in the mud better. You know what I'm saying? Now, in terms of the drive and kick stuff, the pick and roll stuff, Kobe didn't really play like that. Kobe played in like the triangle offense, and he was coming off pin downs, you know, and
Yeah.
he was kicking you down on the elbow and all of that stuff. And that's not the most efficient way to play basketball. But bro, if you have bigs down there and they're rebounding and they're clogging up the paint, it is really, really hard to beat that kind of basketball. And I think that's what Kobe did better, but it's not going to translate into the numbers, bro. So when you, I see younger people arguing that point, and they lean to the stats, I can't tell them that, oh, this is why Kobe was better, because they're just going to automatically look at the stats and say, you know, well, Kobe was this efficiency or that efficiency. You know what I'm saying? You can't really illustrate that to somebody that, you know, was born in 2005, 2000, right? Like, they grew up seeing LeBron play, and he's putting up these crazy stats. And then you go to Basketball Reference and you see the shit and you're like, hold up, what's happening here? LeBron is better, right? So, you know, the one thing that we have to lean into is when this guy had opportunities, you know what I'm saying? When he was in a championship context, when he played for a championship team, winning 60-something games, doing all of this stuff, how did he perform come playoff time? What did he do? And I feel like with LeBron, what teams started to do to him, like around '09, because Stan Van Gundy has talked about this on multiple interviews. What they started to do is that they just took away the teammates and they just let LeBron get his. You know what I'm saying? And if you look at it, LeBron really wasn't all that efficient, right? Now, the let LeBron get his strategy, that doesn't necessarily work all the time. You know what I'm saying? You got to have somebody that matches him. So in 2018, LeBron runs into, that block of time. He runs into Toronto, right? Toronto had a pretty good defense back then, but they never had the requisite shot making from their star player or the requisite scoring. So LeBron, it was like shooting ducks in a barrel because, he didn't have that type of player out east to really combat him. You know what I'm saying? Like, he just didn't.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. So, I mean, I guess one of the things that I value about LeBron is that, even if his style of play doesn't always end up coming out on top, it's a very consistent style
Bro,
of play.
don't get me wrong. I'll be the first person to tell you that LeBron Ball is really, really effective, bro. He's made 9 finals. So, I think it's 10 finals that he's made. So, however you want to slice it, weak conference, this, that, and the other. Magic played in a weak conference, right?
Yeah.
It is what it is. But to do it consistently, to stay healthy, all of that, it's really impressive. However, you have to lean back to the fact that when he got to the finals, he ran into some teams that were playing, that were balanced, offense, defense, whatever, right? And playing LeBron Ball doesn't lend itself to balance. It's beneficial for him. I don't know that it's necessarily beneficial for his teammates. And the teams that he ran into were just textbook championship balanced team. When I see people on Twitter making an argument about, he ran into these all-time teams, this, that, and the other, I'm like, the Utah Jazz were pretty balanced as well. Now, the problem is that they ran into Michael Jordan. And people are like, well, the Utah Jazz sucked this and that and the other. The Utah Jazz was spanking the Kobe and Shaq Lakers during those years.
Back-to-back years.
You know what I'm saying? It's not like they were playing bums and, Michael Jordan was just winning a lot, right? And he just made a lot of those dudes look bad. You know what I'm saying? They didn't win anything. The difference now is we have this perception about Steph because Steph is a champion. We have the perception about Kawhi Leonard because Kawhi Leonard is a champion. Even though I think Kawhi Leonard is a massive beneficiary, right? We look at KD the way that we do because KD is a champion, right? Now, there's some asterisks on that because now KD has to win outside of Steph Curry because Steph won 2 without him, right? We look at Jokic that way because Jokic is a champion, right? So they've all done this winning during this period of time, right? During Michael Jordan's era, bro, during that 10-year stretch, they were dominating. He didn't really lose during that time. So that's why people have that perception of him. You know what I'm saying? That's a big fucking deal to not lose during that time. You know what I'm saying? So with LeBron, people seen him lose and it's like, he puts up these stats. But the problem there is not that LeBron isn't great, all of this stuff, blah, 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 right? But I don't think LeBron ever got the balance of, the offense-defense balance thing and then elevating his teammates, right? That right there is a problem for me, right?
Right.
That LeBron Ball can get you to heights.
Yeah.
But it didn't always push you over the top, if that makes sense.
I mean, and this is why, the whole Steph versus LeBron conversation is, a very interesting one. So, I typically don't really complain when somebody has one over the other. But for me, like when it comes to the Kobe Bryant conversation, and just for the record, I think both LeBron and Steph are better than Kobe, not just LeBron. Like I think they're both better. But like for me, I feel like the Heat had like some sort of balance between offense and defense. They weren't like amazing offensively, but they were like pretty good offensively and very good defensively. But I think that like the problem, so like I think that he achieved that balance there. In Cleveland, he certainly didn't. But I think that we would like he ran into Steph Curry, right? 4 years in a row with those balanced teams. So we can, prop up Steph for being able to lead those types of teams where that had all these balances. But, for Kobe got to, run into a shell of the Celtics and that Magic team. But, I always ask myself, like, if Kobe is running into those Warriors, is he beating those Warriors? Because I don't think he is. If Kevin Garnett doesn't have that terrible knee injury in 2009, does Kobe even win those titles? Like, I don't know. And I just feel like, yeah, I mean, it's an excuse, but I just feel like LeBron kind of just, like, it was bad timing. He ran into a team that turned into arguably the best basketball team ever for 4 straight years.
This is what I'm saying, right? Like, Lamar Odom, Pau Gasol, right? Andrew Bynum. That's 3 guys, you know what I'm saying? Like, when you're playing on a LeBron James team, again, I don't think those guys can exist. Those type of guys can exist. You know what I'm saying? And those type of guys flourished with Kobe Bryant. Like, I don't, like, a lot of people aren't going to see it this way, but when you are able to flourish with those types of guys, that is a skill within itself that doesn't get captured in a box score. You know what I'm saying? And we brought up the Kevin Love argument last night. If Kevin Love had played with Kobe Bryant, Kevin Love is more realized than Kevin Love with LeBron James, right? Like, because Kobe's game is of a wider variety. LeBron does a couple of things really, really well, but he's not going to do those other things to free up those guys and to have them really flourish the way they want to flourish, bro. Like, Kevin Love went from an MVP candidate to standing in the corner. You know what I'm saying? And he had to play LeBron ball. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe Kobe did like open up these like power forward big guys much more than LeBron did. But I mean, I think LeBron opens up guards a lot better than Kobe would have.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you think about it and you put LeBron, with like a shooter type, right? Yeah, I think that works, but I think it works to a certain point, right? Like, I think when you get into the mud, that style of play isn't necessarily more effective, right? So it's the same Luka thing, it's the LeBron thing. A lot of guys do that same thing in this era. And year after year, we see where that style of play, there is a ceiling with it, right? Like all the time, we see a certain ceiling with that style of play all the time. You know what I'm saying? So when we look at that, bro, it doesn't get measured, and people don't factor it in. They just go directly to the box score, and the problem is, Goldie, is like, there is a lot of people who are in the media, who are on TV, who talk about the sport for a living, that can't articulate exactly what I just articulated. You know what I'm saying? Yes, LeBron is great. LeBron ball gets you to heights, and he plays that style better than anyone has ever done in NBA history. I don't think that's in question, right? The 4-route heliocentric stuff, he's the best at it.
Yeah, I mean, it typically doesn't really work for title teams.
It doesn't work, but guess what? He's kind of won championships without it. And I was kind of looking at it. I was charting at it right around 2009, and I was trying to see, like who played that style, that heavy, pick and roll isolation style and won, bro. I looked at a long list of players and nobody really did it. So, but does that mean that he is the second greatest player ever? I don't know about that because I feel like this is where the championships have to factor in. And I feel like with him, he's had a lot of talent, and I don't think he's maximized that talent in terms of a championship context.
So
Yeah,
do you
he
think
won.
like
Yes,
LeBron has the talent and like the abilities to be that great, but he just hasn't like figured out what's actually most conducive towards winning, and that has held him back from being as great as he could be?
100%. So I look at it from this standpoint. LeBron, he has gotten himself into a pickle trying to figure out what style to win and what style not to win. And he's just gotten impatient a lot of times. And maybe it's a limit to the type of his style of play and the skill set. But I don't think he's really figured out the right balance, right? Especially with the Warriors, bro. Like, look at that 15 finals, bro. He was walking the ball up the court every fucking time. Like every time he's just walking the ball up the court, right? And he was just playing that grinded out style. The next year, they were playing that grinded out style. And then on like mid-January on MLK, they played that style and the Warriors ran them off of the court, bro. Like absolutely ran them off the court. LeBron is like, fuck this. Ty Lue comes in. Next thing you know, they are completely 4 out at that point. Timofey Mozgov could not be on the court at that point. They stopped playing him at that point. It's the numbskull Laker organization that went and paid Mozgov. They couldn't even recognize what the fuck was happening. Right? So the centers back then, none of them should have gotten paid. You know what I'm saying? Unless they can fucking guard in space and space the floor and all of that stuff, it just wouldn't have worked. So when LeBron did that, bro, downhill, all of that stuff, and now you don't have the power forward center in the lane, his numbers absolutely exploded. And a lot of people's numbers exploded after that because downhill basketball, especially with him doing it, you could not stop it when you took Garnett out of the paint, when you took Rasheed Wallace out of the paint. It just didn't, you just couldn't guard him. You know what I'm saying? Now, the Warriors, like what they started to do is that they have, Draymond and Bogut down there. You know what I'm saying? That's pretty formidable. Andrew Bogut gets injured, gets off of the court, and then LeBron is having probably the best 3-game stretch of anyone in the finals. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of that we don't really put into context. You know what I'm saying? Now, like I think the key to this era is maintaining defense and having non-shooters out there to maintain that defense. This is why I have Steph over LeBron, because Steph strikes that balance better than anyone in this era. You know what I'm saying? To have like the non-shooters out there holding down the defense while maintaining a top-level offense. Like, that is why I have him over him, for that simple fact, because I just feel like you can put and you can achieve and strike that balance better with Steph Curry than you could with LeBron. LeBron has tried to strike that balance, and it's ended up miserably. And then all of a sudden, he just goes back to what worked. Bro, look at this past season, right? Russell Westbrook, Anthony Davis, and LeBron James are on one team. LeBron is putting up his stats. Anthony Davis is putting up his stats. And they're starting off the season 0-6. Mm-hmm. None of that ever made sense. You know what I'm saying? And it's because they had an issue having certain guys on the court, right? And it never really translated, right? Like, until they traded away Russ and they just brought in people that just made more sense. And then, they just leaned defense, and then that was the mix. But then LeBron isn't playing that well. You know what I'm saying? So it was always like a balancing act.
So okay, By the way, okay, how you doing?
What's going on, man?
Nothing. So back to your point about the LeBron Westbrook AD fit. I never thought that it wasn't gonna work. I just felt like because remember before the Westbrook trade, they were targeting Buddy Hield, and I said if you look at LeBron's career, right, he's had shooters. He has Ray Allen, he has Shane Battier, Mike Miller, Jr., whomever. Westbrook just he just didn't fit. Like, and plus the roster, it just made no sense. Like they had like I think they were the oldest roster in NBA history, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
So, somewhere in that range. Like the roster just made no sense. That's why they gave up so many leads because when you're an old team and like you can't defend, that's the problem. That's the reason
Well,
why
I
I
mean,
just.
yeah, that's true. But here's the thing, though. You
Hmm.
know, like if everyone is leaning offense at that point, I didn't think the Lakers had the pieces, well, the LeBron kind of players to really mount that type of offense. So look at the offenses that he was running in Cleveland versus
Right.
the offenses that he was running in Los Angeles. The reason why he was semi successful in Los Angeles is because they lean more defense. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So so it really got like I think if LeBron had that 2020 team, like that type of team.
Which one? The year they lost in the first round?
Yeah, like that type of team. If he had that type of
Oh yeah.
team, 2020, 2021, if he had that type of team, over the course of, you know, the 2010s, I just feel like it looks different. He probably
Good
wins a
point.
lot more than he actually did. You know what I'm saying? But he just never struck the right balance.
I guess
Good
that's
point.
my thing with like the whole LeBron conversation that I always, I guess, get mixed up in. Like if like I feel like you've laid out good reasons for where you have LeBron and why you have him there. I more so have a problem when people are like questioning if he's even like talented enough to be one of those like three greatest players ever. But like if your perspective on it is like, he hasn't, you know, maximized I guess like the teams that he's had and hasn't really figured out how to like strike the balance, then that's just like a different perspective on it that I haven't
I
really
think
thought
he's
about.
somewhere there within like the top five or six. You know what I'm saying? He has to be there within the top five or six. I don't think there's any question, like the scoring, the longevity, all of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Now, where I am going to ding him, I'm going to ding him based on what he had in terms of teammates and the success that he had. You know what I'm saying? You have to do that because I feel like with him, he never gets dinged, bro, ever. You know what I'm saying? And I think because he puts up these stats, he loses, and then people are like, they blame the teammates. You know what I'm saying? Um, I've never really seen that happen with anyone else, with any other great ever. You know what I'm saying? He kind of gets let off the hook. And I don't think that is a proper evaluation of what happened. You know what I'm saying? Because you look at that '09 team, you know, Orlando. Stan Van Gundy was the first guy that said, we're just going to let LeBron get his and we're going to get him tired. Next thing you know, James Harden, we're just going to let you get yours and you're going to get tired. Now the problem is that LeBron just did it better than Luka, James Harden, all of these other guys. You know what I'm saying? He just did it way, way, way better. Right? So how do you account for that? LeBron, regardless of the circumstances, he's there with a top 10 level type of player. 2020, 2021, 22, 23. So that's like, a 4-year stretch basically. And, you can say injuries, you can say this, you can say that, right? But Steph, Giannis, and Jokic has won during that time span, right? Now, to get his team there at this advanced age, that's still pretty phenomenal. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
he still was gifted that team. So, bro, you got to hold these things against him, and I don't think people hold it against him. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I think you can hold it against him. I'm fine
Go
with
ahead.
that.
Go ahead.
I mean, I was just gonna say, so with the LeBron versus Kobe thing, you know, if you want to ding LeBron, you know, for having one less title, you know, I guess that's fine. I mean, you know, Kobe did play in a better conference, but the thing that I, you know, I've never gotten on with, even if LeBron's East was not strong, you know, it's not like he was ever struggling to get out of the East. Like, they were running through teams. Like 2015 through 2018. Oh, well, not 2018, but 2015 through 2017, they were running through everybody. And, you know, he gets dinged for losing some finals. But Kobe doesn't get dinged for, you know, even like, I mean, if we're going to hold these players to this standard of
Goldie, you said like 2011, right? Like, people love
well, I
to
mean,
mention
Kobe
about
doesn't get dinged for, you know, 2011 through 2013 being the
right.
favorite to come out of the West every single one of those years and then losing in the second
I
round back-to-back
disagree, bro.
years.
No. He was getting dinged left and right. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like, you know, I'm in my
Maybe at the time, but does he now, like in people's rankings?
who knows, right? But I can only speak to point in time. Point in time, I feel like he was getting dinged. Like when he lost in '08, bro, the noise behind that L, like he makes the finals. He beats the champion Spurs and then he loses in the finals, bro. And I'm telling you, the noise after he lost was so loud. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
How Gasol didn't play well. Andrew Bynum was out of it. Like, and you heard none of that, bro. Trevor Ariza didn't play. And the noise was just so loud about him losing and him not being better than Shaq and all of this stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, but when LeBron loses in 2017, the narrative was, look at his stats. What could he do?
Yeah.
What could he do? You know what I'm saying? And it's like, well, you could have probably played a style that wouldn't lend itself to KD putting up those stats. You know what I'm saying? Or Steph putting up those stats.
Right. I mean, I guess what I was getting at is more so like, I'm not gonna like. I don't like. I might like, you know, joke at Kobe fans about how Kobe played in 2008 and 2004, but like, I don't really ding players for losing in the finals because they are one of the last two teams left in the league. I feel like it's just a bigger indictment if you're losing earlier in the playoffs. So like, even if LeBron was hurt in 2021, like, he should not have lost in the first round. Like, he should not have missed the playoffs in 2022. Like, I feel like those are dings. Like, I feel like it's more of a ding for, you know, like 2010 when he lost in the second round to the Celtics. Like, I feel like that's one of the bigger marks on his career rather than losing to, like, the team that wins the title. Because, like, it's so hard to win a title. You know, one team wins it. And, I mean, you see these teams, like, you have to have, like, one of the best players ever on your team to win a title. So losing to that team, you know, it can hold you back from the GOAT conversation. I'm fine with that. But, like, I don't look at it as, like, a big stain. For me, though, it's like Kobe loses Shaq and Phil Jackson and then can't even see the playoffs. Phil Jackson comes back and he can finally get back into the playoffs, but he's getting first rounded back-to-back years. And then 2011 through 2013, he's the favorite all three of those years out of the West, loses in the second round back-to-back. And then even in 2013, before the Achilles injury, he was the 7th seed, even though they were like supposed to be this crazy super team because of Dwight Howard. I feel like those...
The Lakers fucked themselves during that time.
Huh?
The Lakers fucked themselves during that time because
they did.
What they did is that they tried to play a style that wasn't conducive to the personnel. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So what happened to Kobe during that period is kind of what happened to LeBron.
The last,
I would say 2012 21, 22. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They tried to do something that just didn't fucking work. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They went away from the formula. So, bro, they hired Mike D'Antoni and Steve Nash in the backcourt. Kobe Bryant is here at this point, bro, and they're gonna bring in Steve Nash of all fucking people. Now Kobe is like in his late 30s at that point, and you're bringing in Steve Nash, who he's gonna have to bro. And it was just a failure from the jump, right? So
Nash was like 36, 37,
yeah,
38 at that time.
they went away from the formula, right? So that's why I don't think they would have won anyway. Like I just think it was just the end of the road for them anyway.
Right.
Well, maybe they would have stood a better chance if they didn't go entirely away from the formula, you know?
Right. I guess what I'm getting at is it feels like these failures, maybe not just 2013, but like those other ones I was mentioning, like those quote unquote failures for Kobe kind of get, marked down as, oh, well, he was in the West and the West was so good, which I guess is fair.
So. Like I think people are more hypercritical of Kobe than you actually remember. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I maybe at the time, like I said, I can't remember 2005 necessarily. Like I was like 8 years old, but
right, like 04, 05.
Right.
That year, I think the end of the year, he averaged like 27. Tom Janovich was the coach that time, and he was doing his thing or whatever. And I think towards the end of the year, he got hurt and they missed the playoffs. Phil Jackson gets hired back 06, 07. 06, they had the Suns 3-1. They lose that bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
07, they lose again. And then 08, the team gets a little.
They traded for Powell.
And then they traded for Powell. You know what I'm saying? Bynum gets hurt that year. But Pau Gasol was so good with Kobe Bryant that it didn't make a difference. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just the perfect combination of two players. Next thing you know, they're going from getting first rounded to making the NBA Finals. Beating, at that time, the defending NBA champions. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I don't think people remember this. And this is where I'm going to give Kobe credit, because his game and the way that he played basketball, relative to how LeBron played, the Spurs could not guard him. He was fucking unguardable for them. And that's a style of play thing, because the Spurs want to play one style, right?
Mm-hmm.
The style that they play, I'm not saying it stops LeBron, but it's not the style that he necessarily wants to play. Kobe wants to play that style, right? And he just went against that team and he just annihilated them. Like, go back and watch the series, bro, especially the damn game one.
No, I think that the Spurs have been the team to give LeBron by far the most problems. I mean, even in 2013 when the Heat beat them, I mean, up until like the last couple games of that series, LeBron wasn't playing all that great. He was.
I think it was up to game 5. It was up to game 5. He didn't play good.
Yeah, I think that certain teams have given LeBron problems that Kobe had his way with. But I mean, I feel like Kobe would have had problems. I mean, Kobe did have problems against that same Mavericks team LeBron lost to. Kobe, he got his numbers against the Thunder in 2012. Whereas, LeBron was able to beat them. I feel like they, just because of how different their styles of play were, it made it look like Kobe was just so much better than LeBron at the time, because he had a style of play that was conducive towards beating the teams they were facing. And then
let me tell you something too, right? But here's what's fuck people up. You look at LeBron's stats back then, bro, like the advanced stuff, like the on-offs, the fucking, all of that stuff. Like, he was playing a style that when he was on the court and what he was doing for his teammates, the models at the time just, I don't think their models even achieve it now. But the models then, rank LeBron as the greatest player ever. You know what I'm saying? This is where the argument started to become weird, because the models are saying one thing, but the models, I think, and they still do, they have holes in it. You know what I'm saying? Because then you couldn't properly, equate that balance between offense and defense. You know what I'm saying? And playing in the mud and all of that type of stuff. Like the models break down after a certain point. Like the models break down in the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it does a really great job of calculating what's happening on the court, especially when things are in the mud. You know what I'm saying? Now, when guys are in a high ball screen and they're doing all of this stuff, it does a great job of capturing that. And that is optimal basketball by the numbers. But when you get into the mud, bro, and they're not calling a lot of this shit, and you have to rely on a pin down from the elbow and all of that shit, and you're taking teams are giving you like the least efficient shots, and that's what you're relying on. I think that's where the models break down. And the models weighed LeBron heavily. You know what I'm saying? They weighed him heavily. So this is where it just got weird, and and then you look at a year like, say, 2015. Go back and look at his efficiency during that playoffs, bro. Goldie.
It was bad the whole playoffs.
Every time, dog. Like, he was just walking the ball up the court. And he was just leaning defense, walking the ball up the court. And he's just navigating everything. And, they're just winning these ball games. And he's just frustrating teams in the half court. Now, the problem is that when he's doing that, there is not another player in the Eastern Conference, like maybe in that Chicago series, but then Pau Gasol got hurt and that turned into a thing, right? But in terms of everything else, bro, like I just don't think he had another player to really go up against him out east. You know what I'm saying? All those players that would have done that at that point was in the Western Conference. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that if KD played in the East or if Russell Westbrook or any of those guys was out there, they would have won. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that because I think LeBron is better than those guys anyway. But it probably looks a little bit different.
I mean, I agree. I feel like his time getting out of the East would have been a lot harder. But I mean, like, even if those teams were weaker, like, I still can't ignore the fact, 12-1 against a conference in the playoffs. I mean, that's still hard to do. Like, you don't, like, you can't just say, like, oh, these teams weren't good, so that's why you went 12-1. Like, you still got to go into those playoff games with teams with their backs against the wall, trying to play their hardest, and going 12-1. 2015, like, walked all over the Hawks without Kyrie for half the series and without Love. I mean, that's still, like, hard to do.
No. It is hard to do. And Atlanta had some injuries too. But, I mean, Chicago did as well. But, again, this is where it gets funny for me, because if you're saying that he's the best player on the court in 2015 and he's walking the ball up the court and these guys are out, right? And then he runs into the Warriors and he has these dudes against the ropes, right? Why are you not doing the same thing that you did in the Atlanta series, the Chicago series, and all of that when he starts to lose now? You know what I'm saying? Because they were up against the Warriors and everybody and their mama thought that LeBron was going to win that series.
Yeah.
And it would have just been like the greatest thing ever. You know what I'm saying? Until Steph started to play well. Steph started to create advantages for his teammates that LeBron necessarily wasn't doing. You know what I'm saying? So
I never thought that LeBron in 2015 was the best. Like, at no point during the regular season or the playoffs.
Like, when we were watching that series, right, and I saw what Steph was doing, right? Like, I saw the advantages that he was creating. I saw it back then, and I was like, yeah, this is kind of different. I've never seen anything like this before.
Yeah.
And then, then all of a sudden he gets no Finals MVP votes, bro. Like, and it's funny because the people who voted for him back then, or who voted against Steph or who voted to have Steph not win those. The funny thing is that they still defend voting the way they did, bro. And I think that's where the media and the LeBron media thing pisses me off, because instead of going back and saying, yeah, Steph Curry was creating advantages left and right for his teammates relative to what LeBron was doing, they went back and said they still would have voted Andre Iguodala. Like that's the stuff that irks me, bro. Like it always, you know what I'm saying? So I think Kobe is right there in the top 5 just based on the sheer volume of winning that he did. So,
but you don't think it's like asinine if somebody has LeBron over Kobe, right?
Let me say this: 5 rings is 5 rings.
Yeah,
that's the first thing. Second thing is if we're gonna say Magic Johnson is ahead of Steph, Magic has to be ridiculous. The other, right?
Yeah.
Why are we not doing that same exercise with LeBron in terms of like the rings argument?
Hey, I mean, I don't have Magic over Steph, so.
But you understand what I'm saying, though?
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying.
Like, there is a part of me that is not ready to put Steph above Magic yet because of the rings thing. Because Magic made the finals 9 times, bro. He won 5 of them, right? I thought he was the driver of those teams. People can say Kareem all they want. Magic was the driver of those teams. You know what I'm saying? Every single one of them, I think.
Yeah.
Kareem wasn't winning. You know what I'm saying? And Magic, even after Kareem retired, he was still just making finals. You know what I'm saying? He was still running high-level offenses or whatever. So, Magic won early and he won often. You know what I'm saying? So, I have to put that into context. Now, the Steph thing for me, I think Steph is ahead of him. But for me to say it definitively, he has to win 5, right? Because he has to win 5, bro. Because I can sit here and I can lay out the arguments for all NBA and how he got shafted, the Finals MVP, how he got shafted, and all of that. This is why a lot of this stuff angers me, because I know the arguments that are going to happen, and I know the arguments that people are going to make. That's why this shit irks me so much.
Yeah, I mean, people are already making the argument that Luka's got as many first-team All-NBAs as Steph.
Do you see what I'm saying, bro? Like that's what I'm saying. And the minute that Luka wins, or if he ever wins, people are going to do the same shit because of the stats, bro. Like, I'm just going to tell you that right now.
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I love Luka, but nah, sorry. He's not better than Steph. I love Luka, but he's not better than Steph. Sorry.
Bro, the most gratifying thing for me was the West Finals last year, bro, when Luka was doing that thing. And he was just like Phoenix was doing the same thing that he does, but he just did it better. And, it got to the point, bro, where in the finals, the Warriors just had this balanced approach. And Luka just didn't stand a chance, bro. And if you look at that series, bro, he was averaging like damn near a 32-point triple-double. You know what I'm saying? And it didn't matter, It really
32, I think it was 32, 10, and 8, something like that.
Yeah, bro. So
yeah,
so it's tough, man. I mean, I'm not gonna say LeBron ain't there, right? But I think because of how people weigh stats and don't do a good job of weighing what somebody did in their era versus what somebody did in another era, it is an easy argument to make to say, oh, he's the second greatest player ever. If somebody wants to say that, I'm fine. But I think if somebody is beating you in your era and doing the team thing better than you, it is a really tough argument to make. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I
Yeah.
think it's a really tough argument to make if they're achieving that balance better than you did. That's why I don't think it's like a lock that he's number two. That's why I don't think it's like when people say he's better than Michael Jordan, I'm like, bro, like that's a tough one because once MJ figured out the formula, he just wasn't losing. You know what I'm saying? And LeBron and what we're talking about right here, Goldie, is splitting hairs. You know what I'm saying? All of these guys are all-time greats, but
Yeah.
if we're talking about all-time greats, you have to split the hairs. And if you're splitting the hairs, you're saying, you know, this guy found a formula
Mhm.
and he was just able, bro, like, I don't think LeBron ever really found a formula, bro. I don't think he ever did. And you have to hold that against him because of how he played, right? Like, it's kind of like a balancing act, basically. He never found the proper balance, you know what I'm saying, between getting his stats and having balance with his teammates. You know what I'm saying? That has to factor in. And dog, I'm gonna tell you, no one ever factors it in, bro. Ever. I've never seen anyone really factor that in. Ever. No one in the media, bro. Like no one has ever really done that.
Hey,
And really
Urkel.
against him. Yo.
I thought this year in the playoffs, I thought LeBron played a lot. Like, you think that this was the first time in this year's playoffs that LeBron was a lot more off ball?
Bro, so if you want to talk about that balance and achieving that balance, this last year is the best I've ever seen him do at it. You know
I was just about to say that because this was the first time I've seen LeBron a lot more off ball. Like, I was like, huh? Like, I've never seen LeBron off ball. Like, I've seen him off ball a lot, but not like this.
I mean, even with this year, like, I feel like he did that, though, out of necessity. Like, I feel like he just, like, if he hadn't had the whole foot thing, I feel like he would have probably played more on ball. Sorry, I'm doing something.
Yeah, so that's a good argument. I think that's a good argument to make. I think he had to do it, you know, I think he had to do it out of necessity. And then within him doing that, you know, Reeves, D'Lo kind of stepped up, all of that stuff. You know,
Dennis.
look at it in another form, you know, that is not the best way to optimize what the Lakers had. It's not going to be led by fucking Austin Reeves
Yeah.
or D'Lo. You know what I'm saying?
I don't
And
think Davis is even winning you a title, to be
Bro, and
honest.
then you had points where, you know, LeBron is going to be the best option, and then those guys are just there standing watching him. You know what I'm saying? I never really think but this year is probably the best I've seen him balance between getting teammates involved
Yeah.
and then achieving a top level defense. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
That's why I think what they did in Los Angeles is criminal. They they probably should have had more stabs at the championship than they actually did. I think what they
Like
did
with the Westbrook trade,
Westbrook
trade,
trade,
right?
all of that, bro. Like they literally
Yeah.
wasted time, man. I'm telling you, like it's almost akin to what the Warriors did last season with the roster, bro. Like they had a formula and they just went away from the fucking formula,
Yeah.
you know, and it cost them a championship. The only
Yeah, good point.
that I think the Lakers did a more adverse version of it, you know, than the Warriors actually did. Plus, I think the Lakers just had more talented players than the Warriors do. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to look at it from that
Yeah.
standpoint as well.
Yeah, good point.
You know, so, but, bro, the media, bro, they do a really shitty job of comparing eras, right? And breaking it down, you know, and finding why this guy, his stats are the way they are versus what, bro, like, you can just go on Basketball Reference, right? Go look at LeBron's stats like the first 6 years and just look at the efficiency, bro. Like, you know, like if I look at his true shooting percentage, you know, from 03 to 09, right? Bro, not in 1 year. Not in 1 year he was above 60% true shooting. In 09, he was at 59% true shooting, bro, and he was breaking fucking basketball. Right? He was literally breaking basketball. So he was at the cusp of 60% true shooting. and he was breaking basketball at that point. At that point, he was like a plus 20, a plus 22 on off. That's unheard of.
Plus 22 is crazy.
31.7 PER. Like he's just breaking shit at that point, right? And that was under 60% true shooting, right? So, the wind shear stuff, all of that stuff, he was just crazy, right? So, but during that 6-year stretch, he was 55% true shooting. And then he was like, you know what? There is more value in terms of me spreading the court and with shooters and then just driving to the rim like a madman. And when he started to do that, bro, all of a sudden, he went from 55% true shooting in Cleveland. And then when he was in Miami, right, that 55% true shooting is all of a sudden during that 4-year stretch, it went to 62%. So the first 6 years, he's at 55. And then, in the Miami years, he's at like 62%. That is a big jump. You know what I'm saying? Like from
Urkel, I'm glad.
And bro, that's all
I'm glad you mentioned it. It was in this. I think it was his 30 in Miami. LeBron had like a crazy stretch where he shot like I think 65% or better from field goal. It was some stat.
Yeah, in 2013 during like February or something, he shot February. 60 something percent. Well, I think 2013 and 2014 are kind of like strange anomalies because all of a sudden he didn't even just go to like good relative efficiency. Like those 2 seasons, he was like all-time great efficiency, and then regressed back.
Do you know what those teams were doing back then, bro? They were playing small ball. You know what I'm saying? And
who, the Heat?
Yeah, bro. Like the Heat was just doing small ball back then. Chris Bosh, LeBron James.
Chris Bosh at the 5.
Like now all of a sudden they got fucking Rashard Lewis out there. They have Ray Allen out there, and imagine those dudes with LeBron now. You know what I'm saying? Like LeBron is just fucking killing it at that point, right? like they couldn't guard him because it's like, he started to do the small ball thing with Ray Allen and Rashard and D Wade and Chris Bosh. You know what I'm saying? Like those were really great teams when you look back at it, and they couldn't guard him, bro, because one, they didn't have that power forward center down there anymore because they were just spacing everyone out. And two, they were a really good defensive team at that point. So they were able to strike that balance. Now, when they ran into the Spurs, bro, the Spurs just let him get what he wanted, and it just took away everyone else. And that Miami defense had nothing for what the Spurs were doing in 14. Matter of fact, in both years, they had a really hard time, but especially in 14, they had nothing for them. Yeah. Now comes the Warriors, bro. And the Warriors just took what the Spurs did, and they just did it better. You know what I'm saying? Because now they have a guy.
Because, they had Steph.
You know what I'm saying? He took that same Spurs style and just took it to another level. You know what I'm saying? And it just broke basketball, essentially. It literally broke basketball. The off-ball, on-ball stuff that Steph was doing, it broke basketball. It literally broke basketball. So yeah, bro, like that's what happened. He played on some great teams, but you have to penalize the dude, bro. Like you have to penalize him for playing on those great teams and not getting optimal results out of him, bro. Because, Kyrie, Love, Anthony Davis, Bosh, Wade, and standing in the way of that is Steph Curry. You know what I'm saying? But, if you're the best player on the court, you got to deliver. You can't say that you're better than Kevin Durant and then your fans are over there crying about Kevin Durant, bro. Like, you have to be better than Steph and KD. Like, it is what it is. And the part that kills me is when these fucking Kyrie truthers sit there and say that Kyrie is better than Steph. Are you fucking kidding me, bro? Like,
Kyrie, what?
Bro, none.
Like, I love Kyrie, but he's not even in the same planet as Steph. I'm sorry. Yeah. He's not.
But, bro, I'm telling you, like, they were getting they were getting that boost. You know what I'm saying?
Let me ask you this. So, I mean, who do you? So, I know you think Steph was, the best player in 2017 and 2018 in the finals. Do you think KD was better than LeBron?
In which finals?
Both of those finals.
I think
That's
LeBron
okay.
was the better player.
Because, I mean, we agree that Steph was catching the schemes, right?
Yeah, so if you ask me who was the best player in 17, 18, 19, whatever, it's Steph. Right?
Right.
Like now if you look at the box score, here's another point about the box score, dog. Kevin Durant in those finals, Goldie, I think he shot like 68% true shooting. If you look at KD's final stats, they look ungodly. All time, he's averaging like 30 something points on like close to 70% true shooting in the finals. You know what I'm saying?
In
You put him
2017?
so if you combine all of his finals, 13, 17, 18, 19, whatever, right? If you want to exclude 19, sure, go ahead. But if you include those three finals, bro, he looks like the greatest finals performer ever of all time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, people are not putting into context that when he's in a pick and roll, teams are jumping Steph and KD is downhill and he's just getting bucket after bucket, bro. Like, think about the cumulative effect of that, bro. Like, they're doubling your all-time great teammate and you are dunking the ball on a fast break. They're double teaming you. You're getting switched on a center and you're just baking that center. You are having like them switching this player on you and you're just annihilating them. Like, I don't think anyone ever really put the KD thing into proper context. He went to the finals and he was annihilating them. But do I think that KD was better than LeBron? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Matter of fact, I don't know from say 2019 to now, I don't know that KD has been a better player than LeBron.
Since 2018?
Since 2019, right?
So from 2018, 2019 until now, I don't know that Kevin Durant has been a better player. A lot of people say that he has. I don't know that he has. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, good point.
Right? Like, so the finals, bro, like the finals distorted so many arguments because, all right, put it this way. If the Warriors don't play the Cavs in those three finals, if they didn't play against that strategy, because what happened is that in 2016, trapping Steph, taking the ball out of his hands and letting the teammates beat them, that worked. And it worked that one time. And then within that working that one time, Ty Lue and LeBron said, we're going to try it every time. And within trying it, bro, they got annihilated every single time. The shit worked when the Warriors had catastrophic, unprecedented injuries. And these dudes were like, you know what? We are going to run the shit and we're going to try. It worked for a 3-game stretch and it only worked during that 3-game stretch. It never worked in any point after that. Not one time.
Like for example, I think it was 2016. I remember when Steph was getting double teamed. I think it was game 2 when they blew out the Cavs. They were double teaming Steph every time he touched the ball. And Draymond was eating. Clay got his numbers, and they just blew the Cavs out of the water. That game 2. You know what I'm talking about, right?
In what year?
2016. It was game 2.
Oh yeah, game 2 when Steph only shot like 15 times or something.
Yeah, something like that. And then Draymond got his numbers, and they blew the Cavs out of the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. So it's a tough argument, dog. Like But for LeBron to be the greatest ever for me, the stretch would have been 15 to around say 2020. You know what I'm saying? That is where he really, really needed to make up ground on Michael Jordan. And I'm telling you, bro, if Steph Curry doesn't exist and he has like 6, I am probably here calling him the greatest ever. You know what I'm saying? Like, I am not a Tom Brady lover, but once that man got to like 5 and 6 or whatever, bro, I'm like, what the fuck else can you say? And then he goes to Tampa Bay and he wins again, bro. Like, there's not much that you can say, bro. Like, he has 7 fucking championships. That's unheard of. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I was a Tom Brady hater, but at some point I was like, fuck, bro, he just keeps winning. You know what I'm saying? And he just keeps on being in these Super Bowls. He wasn't 7-0, but you know what the fucker did? He went to 7 Super Bowls. Or he won 7 Super Bowls. And he was in the Super Bowl like what, 10 times or something like that. That's insane.
Yeah, 10. Yeah, 7.
Right?
He's 73.
So I don't like apply it one way and don't apply it the other. Like it's you know what I'm saying? But at some point you have to say, fuck, bro, like this dude is just winning over and over again. Like, yeah. But I mean, I like where it's at though.
You like what? Where like the conversation is at, or where like their careers are at, or what?
Yeah, it, but what I don't like is, bro, if you want to put LeBron number 2 of all time or whatever, there's plenty of things that you can say. Yes, absolutely, he's done better than a lot of players in history, right? But you know, winning is probably priority 1 for me, and based on what he had, you know, in terms of talent and what he won, like, you have to give him a little bit of ding. Now, the problem is like, you know, people had LeBron over Magic at like ring number 2. I'm like, well, how can you? And see, that's where I get weird with the Steph Curry argument, because I'm like, how can you have LeBron over all of these guys and just push him all of these guys that at the time won more than he did? But with Steph Curry needs to win like 6 or 7 to be ahead of these guys. Like, that's where I think the argument gets odd. You know what I'm saying? I think the argument gets real weird there, where, you know, they don't know how to account for it.
Hey, man, all I'm going to say is back in 2017, I was saying Steph was greater than Magic all time. And I was saying it shamelessly.
Yeah.
Good point. All right, Eric, I'm about to head out. I got to go wash my tattoo and stuff.
All right, bro.
All right, y'all have Goldie, y'all have a good day.
All right, man. Have a good one. Yeah. I think I'm about to get out of here, too.
Yeah, I got to get some work done, bro.
Yeah, like, I need to do the same. So I think I'm going to do a Spaces today.
What time?
4:30 Pacific.
Okay.
So we can probably get more into this argument.
Oh, God. I don't know if I can talk about any LeBron stuff in Spaces anymore.
No, because here's a problem. People get emotional over it. You know what I'm saying? But my argument, it is my argument. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, no. You know, the one thing I'll say is this. I mean, like, we haven't been, like, mutuals for that long. But, I remember seeing your tweets back in, like, 2015. And I do feel like you've become a lot more, like, fair to LeBron in the conversation, like, over this stretch of time. So, like, I feel like you have, like, very valid points. We just see it kind of differently.
You can't look at my tweets. You know what I'm saying? Like half of that is me fucking around. You know what I'm saying? Right. But I've literally had the same opinion for the last 15 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, my opinion hasn't really matured or wavered or anything like that. If you have a conversation, so it sounded like I matured in terms of my argument. I really haven't. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's been the same argument. On Twitter, you fuck around and you say crazy shit and right. people don't understand where you're coming from. But my argument hasn't changed from 2009 to 2023. I've had the same opinion about this game and about the differences since then. It hasn't matured at all. Like, a matter of fact, I've just seen more evidence to support what I thought, say, 10 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Like, or even before that.
Interesting. I mean, I guess it's just because, I mean, I never really heard you talk before Spaces started, so it was
Yeah,
only
so if you look at my tweets, you're like, oh, this dude is just a hater. You know, it is just me fucking around, right? But it's like my biggest problem with this whole LeBron thing, bro, is how people elevate him. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a legit elevation, and I'm like, that's the stuff that I hate. You can't just elevate like that.
Like how quickly he got ranked highest all time by some people. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, it's he got elevated, you know, and I think a lot of that is a lot of PR stuff, a lot of campaigning stuff, right?
Right.
Like, bro, like, are we playing basketball or is this Democrats versus the Republicans? You know what I'm saying? Like,
I got you.
yeah, but all right. Yeah, I'm scheduling Spaces later, and I'll hop on here later as well.
All right. I'll see if I can be there.
All right, y'all. Have a good morning, everybody.